Hey there, this is Alex Kluge. I'm from Toronto Home Experts, and I'm here to dive into the September 21 Toronto real estate market update. Okay, before I dive into the numbers, I really want to talk about what's really happening in the marketplace today. And yes, the snapshot numbers do give a general overview in terms of what's happening, but I want to talk about more specifically what's driving this market and why we're seeing some of the surprising and shocking numbers, to be frank, for September 21. Now, sales volume is only down like 18%. So, people say, "Oh, wow, that's pretty significant." But remember, September last year, we saw a lot of sales pushed back from the spring due to the pandemic, and was really pushed to summer and fall. So last year we had an unusually active September. Like this year, 9,000, I would say, sort of overall sales is about average, maybe, if we're comparing it over the last 10 years. So 9,000 is not an unusually inactive month, but we're just comparing it to a month that was quite active last month. So really that's one side of the picture. But what I think is more interesting is the active listings. So active listings is down by half. So what does that actually mean? So really what that looks at is when we're comparing active listings to sales, we're now seeing for September 21, 67% of all new listings are selling, which is a record for September. Looking at back ever since this was recorded by Trev. So it's unusually high, whereas last year, on average, we were only seeing about 50% of new listings selling. And I would say the typical range for the Toronto market is anywhere between 45 and like 52, 53. So, take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. So 67% of all new listings are selling, which is really, really high. And so what does that mean when we're having such pressure on the number of new listings that are selling? It usually puts an upward pressure on price, because if such a large percentage of new listings are actually selling, that usually means that yes, there's tight inventory, which we talked about, but two, a lot of people are trying to get into the marketplace and taking advantage of what I would say low interest rates. And there's also driver for demand now that we're seeing the downtown core a little bit more active in terms of activity. Also, because businesses are reopening, condo sales, which I'm going to get to shortly, are perking up as well, which is great. And the rental market is absolutely on fire right now, which is also a great leading indicator when we're talking about the condo market. But so when we're looking at new listings are down 34%, which is pretty significant. But in the context of what's selling relative to or new listings to sales ratio, that's the ratio that we really want to look at, and that's putting a tremendous upward pressure on price. So average price, according to the Toronto Real Estate Board, is now up 18%. Does that mean that your house or condo is up 18%? Absolutely not. But what this is saying, or what this is showing, is that we're seeing certain pockets performing much better over the last year than others. So just for some context, so the average for the Toronto overall Toronto area is 18%, but Durham region is up 31% relative to 2021. From 2020 to 2021 is up 31%, which is unbelievably high. York region is up 27% in average price over the last year. So how does that compare with Toronto? Toronto is actually up only 6%. Now, does that mean Toronto prices are up only 6? No. There's a little bit of a backstory, which is why I'm kind of giving you that story when it comes to condos, because condos make up a larger percentage of overall sales in Toronto than they do in Durham region and in York region. So, when we're looking at only an average price of 6% increase in Toronto, does that mean that condo prices are lagging? Yes, it does. But what we saw, and if anyone who's been following this channel has seen that, the condo market really took a lull. I would say November, December of last year. That was really the bottom of the pandemic market, I like to call it, and has really been keeping up steam since then. But really, what we've seen over the last I would say 6 weeks is a renewed interest in condos, specifically downtown. The condo market is becoming increasingly active. Um, Multiple offers are not, I would say, the norm in terms of, probably not, uh, what it was pre-pandemic, but certainly we're seeing it now again. Certainly that's back. And so that's good news. The rental market is incredibly tight, especially downtown. So that's great news. And that's a function of, universities being back. We've seen businesses reopen, offices reopen now, even if it's on a part-time basis. So all that puts pressure on the downtown market. So what I'm going to say is, if I'm going to put a prediction out there, is that we're going to see a greater performance when it comes to average price increases for the condo market, because that's really been lagging the freehold market. And we're going to see that, in my opinion, outperform the freehold market over the next 6 to 8 months. So what else is driving this? Like, interest rates are still at an all-time low, and yes, they can't stay at this forever. Like right now, you can get a 5-year fixed rate uninsured mortgage at 2%, which is like unbelievably low. And so, do I think there's buyers out there to try and take advantage of that? Absolutely. So that's also being a function of what's really driven these numbers in terms of appreciation. So, like, other markets like Peel and Halton are also performing quite well. Halton was up 14% and Peel was up 20%, which is, again, nothing to sneeze at. But again, that goes with my theory, which I've been talking about, percentage of freehold to condos, where in those areas, much smaller, albeit a growing area, a growing segment of those markets, but it's much smaller relative to where we are in Toronto. So anyways, so keep an eye for what happens in October, November, December. My sense is we're going to see similar trending when it comes to active listings and new sales. So we're going to see, probably towards the higher band of what we've been experienced this month. So it's going to be, again, very much a seller's market, and it's going to be tough for buyers to get in, especially at the what I call entry level prices, whether that's downtown condos, one bedroom, one plus dens, or when we're talking about Durham, York region, whether that's the townhouse market or a larger condo. So those are all going to put pressure on for buyers moving forward. So something to keep an eye on, and we'll definitely be talking about that moving forward. So days on market, unsurprisingly, is down. Like 16 to 14 doesn't make a huge difference. But really, it just shows that we've got a tight market. But what really says or supports what I've been saying about the sales to new listings ratio is the months of inventory. We're down at 1. That is unbelievably low. And if you were watching my videos last year at this time, and we're talking about September 1.7, that is still an incredibly hot seller's market at 1.7. Like, really, when we're looking at anywhere between, like, 2.5 to 3.5 is more of a balanced market, and anything above 4 ish is becomes more of a buyer market or buyer's market. But anything like less than 2.5 is a red hot seller's market. And the fact that we're at 1 just shows that really anything that's on the market is selling. So great news if you're a seller. If you're a buyer, it's a super challenging market to be in right now. So but in terms of what that means for you as a buyer, we've as we work with a lot of buyers and sellers, so a good mix of both. So we've been educating our buyers in terms of how to have a leg up and an advantage in this market by educating them and giving them some proven techniques to buy in this market that can be very challenging to navigate. So hit us up if you have any questions. We'd love hearing from you. Hit us up on all our social channels. Instagram, we've got some amazing posts coming out daily, so check that out. We've got some great market tips, and just if you're in the market to buy or sell, we've got some great stuff on there. So hit us up for any questions, and we'll see you again next month. Thanks so much. Bye for now.